Why, hello there, how are you? What is this video you just clicked on? This is different. This is something new. I ain't never done one of these before. Well, don't you worry, I'm not gonna waste your time with a long intro. I can see in your demented devil eyes that you're just frothing with anticipation. Your balls are getting all blue, or your lady balls, whatever the equivalent of that is. So just a quick announcement, a couple of ground rules, and we can get this shit started. Announcement number one, I've kicked off a tournament on my channel. I am releasing slightly shorter individual videos about one-on-one matchups, kind of like the ones you'd see on a lot of those scaling channels, except, you know, mine are better. And more importantly, they're all with a purpose, with each character going up in the bracket to eventually see who is the winner of the tournament. It's gonna be so cool. Problem is, nobody's fucking watching the videos. So come on, man, get your shit together. If you want me to try a bunch of crazy, stupid stuff, you gotta be willing to try new things. I got all kind of crazy matchups planned, including Elden Ring versus Skyrim, but I'm not gonna fucking get to it if nobody watches the videos. Next up, we have some ground rules. So we're gonna do this one a little bit different than we've been doing previous survival challenges. For one, we're not really going to be leaning too heavily on statistics for this one. This isn't so much if one criminal character can overcome and kill everybody else. This is more so what this character would do if they found themselves in Arkham City, which, yes, is kind of how I do it normally, but a lot of times I do lean into more or less like almost a fight just in this location. This is really going to be more about a criminal trying to start a criminal enterprise in this really fucked up location. His physical stats will certainly be a factor, but it's not going to be something that I'm going to lean all that heavily into. At least not as much as I lean into how this criminal will try to start up this criminal enterprise. This is going to be far more heavily story-based than versus battle-based, although both will be a factor. Second rule, and this is a really important one, this is not DC Comics, Batman, and Gotham, because if it was, everybody would fucking die. The comics are just fucking stupid and have no logical consistency across different storylines. This just straight up can't be the Batman from the comics. This isn't the Batman that makes Superman look weak, Brainiac look stupid, and Darkseid look lame. Which, yes, Batman in the comics often does. No, this is the Batman from the Arkham games. Those are the versions we're going to take. They are far more realistic and easier to deal with. Third rule, and this is kind of the most important one, while we are going to be taking what those characters were doing during the events of Arkham City, we will be stretching it a little bit. Because Arkham is a game series, not just a single game. It takes place over the course of, I don't know how much fucking time, but a decent while. And there's no single point in time that you could place these characters where they'll have to deal with all of the issues that happened in Arkham City throughout the course of that entire series. But I'm going to change that. Every single villain who appears throughout the entire series is going to be in Arkham City at the same time, all doing their fuck shit, which wasn't the case in the games. But again, this is a survival challenge. These characters are going to have to overcome everything that Arkham City has to throw at them. So if you're thinking to yourself that I'm just pulling a bunch of random grab bag of events that happen from the games and sticking them all in at the same time, yes, that's exactly what I'm fucking doing. So I've wasted enough of your time for one day. Let's get started. So for the purpose of this challenge, we will be using the entire Arkham series. Every single game in the series. That's going to be Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight, and Arkham Origins. That's it. That's all the games in the series. There's no others. I didn't forget any. That's all of them. Why would you even say that there's another one? There's none. That's it. That's it. Shut up. And honestly, this section of the video should be pretty fucking easy to talk about. Is Batman. Everybody knows Batman. I shouldn't have to have a 20-30 minute section where I explain what Batman is. You know Batman? This is Batman. That's it. There's not a whole lot else to tell you. But for the purposes of completion, I'll give you some extra information. Basically, the Batman Arkham universe happens in a universe where Arkham City basically loses its fucking mind. Hugo Strange takes over and has this whole evil plot about eliminating all the crime from Gotham and all this kind of shit. And this allows him to just allow all the prisoners to do whatever the fuck they want to do. They escape Arkham Asylum and it becomes such a big deal they have to wall off a whole section of the city and just lock all of the criminals in this little section. And this section is called Arkham City. There's no police here. There's no law or order or anything like that. It's just a bunch of criminals, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of criminals, all fighting for control in this little subsection of Gotham. And it turns into some real fuck shit real fast. You got Joker and Penguin at war for power. Bane is running around attacking Joker's Titan supply. Mr. Freeze is doing his wanna save his wife bullshit again. The League of Assassins are operating in a bunch of underground tunnels underneath the city. The Riddler is kidnapping people and executing them if other people can't solve his fucking riddles. There's a big ass fucking shark that Batman punches in the face. It's Batman, people. It's all the crazy, badass, awesome Batman shit that you love just in the Arkham City universe. And having it be located in the Arkham City universe allows me to do two things. One, it allows me to put a cap on the power levels because comics really don't have one. We know how strong strong the Arkham City Batman is. We know how strong Bane is. We know how strong all of these characters are. And I'm not going to have 50 fucking people tell me, well, actually, Batman defeated Superman in a fight, so he would absolutely trounce blah, blah, blah. Stop it. Stop it. I'm not doing that. Comics are a fucking nightmare to sift through because nothing is consistent. But Arkham City is relatively consistent, so that's one reason. And the second reason, which is basically just a spin-off of the first reason, all of these characters have consistent motivations and things that they want to do, what they're trying to do, their storylines. It's all just one thing. There's like 15, 20 different versions of Harley Quinn. If I'm talking about the comic book version, which version of Harley Quinn am I going to pull from? Whichever one I like the best? No, Arkham City has a particular Harley Quinn, and I could just pull from this one. And that goes the same with every single character. Some of the characters in the Arkham games do have some significant differences from the comics, but none of them break off so much that they're completely different characters. There's still versions of these classic characters that you know and love. So I don't really have to go into too much detail about how they're changed or what this particular version is. Guys, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't think I'll ever make a fucking survival challenge on a comic book series. They're just so fucking all over the place. It's honestly my least favorite things about not only comic books, but just storytelling as a whole. Get your shit fucking straight, people. So up first on the chopping block, we have Vaas Montenegro from Far Cry 3. And this is a pretty fucking interesting one, guys. So let's lay out a bit of the story, shall we? It's always been left up the air whether or not Vaas actually survived at the end of Far Cry 3. And even in the Far Cry 6 DLC, they very heavily imply that he did, even showing an older version of Vaas. So in this particular scenario, we're just gonna pretend like he fucking did. After being stabbed through the chest by Jason Brody, he survives, he leaves the Rook Islands, and he goes on his way to the most fucked up place he could possibly imagine, Arkham City. But of course not before he takes a whole fuck ton of drugs from the Rook Islands so that he can use it for his own financial advantage in this new world that he finds himself in. Once he gets to Arkham City, he's gonna see the chaos and destruction all around him, and he's gonna fucking love it. He's gonna really fit in here. But let's find out exactly how well. So first off, what exactly is Vaas even gonna want coming here? And this is actually something that's gonna play to Vaas's strengths. Vaas actually doesn't have to be in charge. He's okay with playing second fiddle to someone else. Vaas's only care in the world is to do whatever he wants to do whenever he wants to do it. He doesn't really have all that much of an ego, which means that Vaas will have absolutely no issues with working underneath one of the other criminals in Arkham City. Now, to be fair, this does have a limit. He's not gonna be some bullshit fucking henchman going around and beating up people for some pocket change. But at the same time, I really don't think that that's gonna be much of a fear. Vaas is a tremendously skilled individual. Not only does he have in-depth knowledge of how to run a criminal enterprise, basically by himself, as well as understand things like the drug trade, guerrilla tactics. I mean, fuck, he was trained by the Ratcat, and Citra, his sister, said that he was originally going to be the one to take over as he was the greatest warrior the Ratcat ever had. At least before Jason Brody got there. Ratcat are a tribe of warriors that are taught in 3 different categories: combat, stealth, and survival. And while we don't see Vaas do much of any of this, it is stated time and time again by multiple characters that he was the best at them. This makes it very difficult for me to believe that anybody who Vaas decides to work under is not going to instantly see his value. He will clearly stand out from the crowd of just regular bullshit enemies. So what I think Vaas is going to do once he gets to Arkham is that he's going to use his knowledge of the drug trade as well as the drugs that he brought from the Rook Islands as basically an in into the criminal underworld of Arkham City. He'll recruit a couple of guys here and there and start setting up different drug farms all over the city, and then try using those drugs and the drug trade as a whole as an in to side with one of the other crime bosses of Gotham City. Now the question becomes, which crime boss is he going to go with? Really, he has 2 choices. He has the Penguin or the Joker. They're the 2 that have taken over most of the city and are currently at war with one another. I don't think for a second that he's going to go with the Joker. Vaas and the Joker are very similar in a lot of ways. For one, they're both fucking insane. To be honest with you, I don't actually think they're really going to get along all that well. Vaas is most comfortable when he's playing second fiddle to a boss who doesn't really care what he does. He likes to be free to just do whatever he wants to do and be left to his own devices, and I don't think the Joker's going to allow him to do that. When you're on the Joker's team, it is very much the Joker's show, and things will flow to the beat of his drum, not Vaas's. Vaas, for the most part, was in every way but name in charge of his faction on the Rook Islands. The boss was really just there as a headpiece. He wasn't really doing all that much. The guy who was running pretty much everything was Vaas. This is why I think Vaas is far more likely to join up with someone like Penguin. Not only is Penguin not quite as strong of a personality, but he's also a much weaker character. Penguin in the Arkham games is pretty clearly shown to be a weak, ineffectual, cowardly, incompetent fucking loser. He's really just a guy with a lot of money that's capable of paying people to do shit for him. And all that money doesn't even come from something that he made. I mean, he was born rich. He's not shown to be as smart as Joker. He's not shown to be as physically skilled or capable as Joker. And constantly, as you're Batman patrolling the city, you'll hear conversations about Penguin's underlings just constantly disrespecting him and talking about how they all want to beat the shit out of him and nobody likes him. Say what you want about the Joker, but his men fucking respect him, at least to some extent. Even the ones that do speak out against him, that you can overhear over the little Batman radio thing, they're instantly shut up and said, man, what the fuck? If he hears you, he's gonna fucking kill you. He is feared and respected, and you can't say that about the Penguin. And I think Vaas will be able to sniff this from a fucking mile away. And that's probably gonna be perfect for him. Vaas is going to set himself up as someone who the Penguin absolutely needs to have in his pocket, and Vaas is going to use that to his benefit. He's gonna play on the Penguin's weaknesses to set himself up really, really well. And I think this relationship will both help Vaas and Penguin in the long run, because Vaas will be able to teach his men how to fight like the Rakyat, which will obviously help him in the war against the Joker, as well as gifting Penguin's side with this new, never before seen drug that they can then flood the streets with and make a shit ton more money. Now, does that mean that it's just going to be smooth sailing for Vaas? Fuck no. And that's because Vaas has a couple of very serious weaknesses that are going to basically stop him from surviving in Gotham. For one, he has a massive fucking issue with authority. Like I said, Vaas does okay as a number 2 because his boss doesn't really bother with him all that much. He just trusts Vaas to do what he needs to do, and he doesn't get in Vaas's way. But Vaas is a very explosive person who doesn't like people looking at him wrong or saying anything disrespectful to him. If he does, he just blows up and fucking murders them. And Penguin is kind of a really disrespectful little shit. He constantly likes to put his boot on people's necks and make them feel lesser than he is. He's a very snooty, uppity, superior kind of guy. And I don't think it's going to be that long until Vaas gets super fed up with the way Penguin talks to him, and he's going to fucking kill Penguin. This is not only going to lead to Vaas taking over Penguin's entire operation, but also inheriting his war that he's fighting with Joker. And you'd think that that's a good thing, but once that happens, Vaas's days are numbered. The truth of the matter is that Vaas doesn't understand Gotham. He doesn't know how it works. He's new to these lands. It's not the Rook Islands where he comes from, where he understands how everything is. He doesn't understand Gotham, and he doesn't understand the Joker. And Joker could very likely have him killed pretty easily. Like, what the fuck is Vaas gonna do if Joker decides to hire Deadshot to go kill him? Deadshot is a super assassin who never misses a shot, who could fire a shot at you from the other side of the city and have it hit you right in between your fucking eyes, so far away you can't even see him. What's he gonna do if Joker does the same thing he did in Arkham Origins, where he just puts a bounty on Vaas's head, and now all of a sudden you got Deathstroke and Bane and all kinds of other characters coming out of the woodwork trying to kill him? Vaas is physically skilled, but he's just a man. He's just human. He's not physically capable of fighting against someone like Deathstroke. Against any normal person or trained soldier, he's good. But when you start getting into these superhuman levels of shit that exist within the Gotham universe, he's gonna really have some issues here. And while that's not necessarily an issue because Joker's not a superhuman person, he's capable of surviving, Joker knows how to play off people. There's a reason why Joker has survived as long as he has in Gotham City. He's a master manipulator that was able to take an educated psychiatrist and turn her into fucking Harley Quinn through Machiavellian levels of manipulation. He knows who to shit on and who to give what they want in order to keep himself alive for as long as possible. It's a constant game that he plays. And Vaas doesn't know that game. That game doesn't exist in the Rook Islands. Vaas was top dog. He didn't have to appease anyone, and to be honest with you, I don't think he's physically capable of it. Like I said, Vaas does whatever the fuck he wants to do. He doesn't like authority. He doesn't like being told what to do. He gets insulted and offended very easily at the smallest slight. He rules through fear and fear alone. And the only opposition he had to contend with was a small band of tribal warriors that really had no chance of possibly defeating him. In a world like Gotham, when he's just one of many, and many of those other characters have more experience in that land, more power, more resources, he's just not gonna do particularly well. There are certain characters that I think he's gonna do really well against. Like if he goes up against Scarecrow, I don't think Scarecrow's really gonna be able to affect him all that much. Vaas is a massive drug addict and is constantly pumping himself up full of hallucinogenic drugs almost all the time. In fact, most of the time when he fights people, he pumps his enemy with hallucination drugs and then he just like fights them while they're both hallucinating. The difference is that Vaas's resistance is so fucking high it barely even even bothers him, while his enemy is just fucked 6 ways a Sunday. So I don't even think that something like the Scarecrow's toxins will really even affect him all that much, as he's likely built up such a massive tolerance towards any hallucinogenic that it's not really gonna matter. But that's not gonna be the case with the top tier crime bosses of this world. And at the end of the day, if you're gonna tell me who's gonna win in a fucking war between two factions, between Vaas or the Joker's fucking winning. He is a far superior strategist with more experience working outside of this city. And I haven't even talked about the possibility that Batman's gonna show up. The fuck is Vaas gonna do against Batman? Now, to be fair, Vaas does have a lot of training in stealth. So Batman's whole stealth thing will not be as useful against Vaas as it would against your average soldier. Vaas may know what to look out for more so than just a regular dude. But that doesn't really matter. One, Batman is significantly better at stealth than Vaas could ever hope to be, on top of all the crazy gadgets he has. But even if you take that off the table entirely, Batman would beat the living shit out of Vaas in a fist fight. The moment Batman wants to take down Vaas, Vaas will be taken down. Yeah, it sucks to be Vaas, but he's way out of his element here. If he just had the ability to hold his fucking tongue and be okay with the fact that people are gonna talk to him super fucking disrespectfully, and he could just let that shit slide, he might actually do okay. But he would also have to keep his head down. I just don't see him doing either of those two things. Vaas is getting either murdered or taken out by Batman. I don't see another ending for him. Next up, we got Tommy Vercetti. Now, listen up, kids. A long time ago, before your daddy was even in his daddy's ball sack, when Grand Theft Auto 5 didn't even exist, believe it or not, there were other Grand Theft Auto games. In fact, there are more than 5 Grand Theft Auto games, if you can believe that. And one of these games long ago was called Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and it was fucking rad. I mean, you will not believe it. The protagonist had voice acting, and that voice actor was like a real actor. It was Ray Liotta. What? That's fucking crazy. The dude from Goodfellas? That's crazy. You're doing too much, Rockstar. Way too much. So who is Tommy Vercetti? Well, Tommy is known as a man who gets things done. He was an enforcer for the Farrelly crime family operating outside of Liberty City in New York. During a particular deal gone wrong, he got into a massive shootout, killed a bunch of people, and got arrested. For 10 years, this motherfucker ratted away in a jail cell and never once ratted on anybody else who was involved. Eventually, when he got out, he was greeted by the Farrelly crime family, and they sent him off to Vice City to go set up a new business down in Florida. And this is where the plot of the game of Grand Theft Auto Vice City takes place. If that sounds like the plot of Tulsa King, that's because it is. Tulsa King is exactly the plot of Vice City. Anyway, throughout the course of the game, Tommy Vercetti is slowly building up this new empire down in Vice City. And his whole story is based around his loyalties to the Farrelly crime family. He's constantly tempted with the prospect of just taking over Vice City for himself and basically stealing it away from the Farrelly crime family. And the whole time he rejects this. Because you see, Tommy is an old school gangster. Loyalty means a lot to him. He never ratted in prison, and he was never going to betray the Farrelly crime family. But throughout the course of the game, he starts to realize that he's the only person who still has this sort of honor code. All of the other criminals around him and all the people that he saw himself as friends and equals to do not share his sentiments. He ends up finding out that the only reason why he spent 10 years in jail is because the Farrellys turned on him and purposely got him arrested for their own benefit. While he's in Vice City taking over shit, he's making all sorts of alliances and friends, and one by one, each of those friends try to betray him, try to take power from him, try to take advantage of him. And really, the plot of Vice City revolves around Tommy, who used to just be an enforcer, used to be a low-level ground guy, now getting a taste of this power and finding out that when you were in this new position, all that honor code stuff that you cared about when you were on the ground floor really doesn't matter anymore. All the people that you thought would have died for you are now trying to stab you in the back. And he kind of has to adapt his thinking to this new world of someone who's not going to let go of his principles, but at the same time not expect the people around him to follow the same principles that he does. And by the end of the game, he ends up getting back at every single person who wronged him, as well as holding all of his people to a higher standard, whether they want to be or not. It's one of the better GTA stories, and Tommy's character arc is one of the best character arcs. And I'm just gonna say right now, GTA 6 is taking place in Vice City. If Tommy Vercetti isn't fucking in Vice City, we're gonna have problems. I'm okay with seeing an old man version of Tommy. I'll watch an old man. I'm okay if he's retired, but I gotta see him. He was a crime boss in Vice City back in the 80s. There has to be something. He can't just disappear off the face of the fucking earth. And don't kill him off screen. That would also be annoying. So let's get into it. How would Tommy do in Arkham City? He's gonna fucking hate it. All that honor code shit I just talked about Tommy having, that shit doesn't exist in Arkham City at all. Not even a little bit. Everybody throughout all of Arkham City are constantly constantly trying to backstab each other, trying to backstab their boss, betray their underlings. It's all over the place. Characters like Joker and Penguin do not care if their underlings die. In fact, they usually mock them as Batman is beating the shit out of them and arresting them. There's no sense of loyalty or camaraderie or honor among any of them. I mean, shit, Joker's men, when they think that Joker is about to be taken out, start talking about how they're gonna go and rape Harley Quinn before taking over his empire once he's dead, and they're just waiting for him to get taken out. That's their boss. If Tommy Vercetti ever heard you say anything like that about anybody who's on his side, in his family, he'd fucking shoot you in the face immediately. And this is just the vibe across the criminal element all over Arkham City. Everybody are liars and manipulators and backstabbers and just scummy fucking people. And Tommy would see them as scummy people, despite the fact that Tommy probably has a bigger body count than all but maybe the top killers in all of Gotham City. Yeah, fun fact, canonically, Tommy Vercetti has the largest kill count throughout the actual story of GTA across all GTA games. And despite that, he's still a more honorable person than most of the people in Arkham City. Like I said before, Tommy is a guy who knows how to get shit done. He was able to go to Vice City and in a matter of a couple of weeks was able to build a massive criminal empire, set up tons of allies and people working under him, own this giant mansion, basically became the most powerful criminal force in the entire city in just a couple of weeks. And he was sent there right out of prison without any guns or money or fucking anything. Tommy has an understanding of crime and criminal enterprises in a way that very few other characters do, even those found in Arkham City. There is not a single doubt in my mind that he will do fairly well in Arkham City, at least at first. Building the empire will be easy. He's done that before. He'll likely just let the Joker and Penguin have their little fight without actually dealing with either of them because he doesn't really need to. They can both kill each other and then he'll just deal with the stragglers. In terms of physical ability, the average person is not going to be able to deal with Tommy. By the end of Vice City, Tommy goes to war with the entire Farrelly crime family by himself. He sets up shop in his mansion, sends everybody home, and then just waits for them to show up, and then guns them all down by himself. Unlike a lot of GTA protagonists, Tommy was known for his ability to kill people. Every GTA protagonist can kill people, but Tommy had a particular skill at wiping out as many people as humanly possible. He was good at gunfighting. Because of this alone, a lot of Arkham City are going to have some serious issues dealing with him in any real way. If you're just a regular guy and you're not superpowered, you're probably not taking out Tommy Vercetti. He's basically like if you made John Wick or Rambo a crime lord. To find Tommy's weaknesses in a scenario, we're actually going to have to look at his character growth. Because believe it or not, who he was at the beginning of Vice City probably has a better chance of surviving than who he was at the end. At the beginning of Vice City, he was just a soldier. He was a loyal dog to serve the family as best he could, no matter what. By the end, he's not really doing that shit anymore, and he doesn't trust his higher-ups to do him right, and he doesn't really care to serve them anymore. He's in charge now. Never again will he allow somebody to have power over him who he doesn't believe is worthy of it. He's gonna run the family in the way that he feels it should be run. And if he decides to do that here in Arkham City, which he will, that's gonna mean he'll have to also go to war with both Joker and Penguin. Now, the reason why I think that Tommy Vercetti will do considerably better than Vaas is because unlike Vaas, who was always in control of these stronger units on the Rook Islands, Tommy Vercetti knows what it's like to be the underdog and fight his way up to power, having to go up against these stronger forces within that area. Tommy Vercetti does not punch down, he punches up and only up. Just like he did in Vice City, he'll make the proper connections that he needs to make. He'll look at the structural weaknesses within the organizations of both the Joker and the Penguin, and he will hit them appropriately, and usually himself, with his own bare hands. They have drug shipments? Let's go blow that shit up and set it on fire. This is where Penguin keeps all his money? Let's go steal that shit. Little by little, brick by brick, he's gonna tear down every little bit of their organization before they're even really aware he's all that much of a threat. And during this part of his basically one-man war against the other crime lords, he's going to do pretty damn well. And unlike Vaas, who only rules through fear and domination of people underneath him, Tommy knows how to make deals with people and gain actual allies and friends. He is aware that he needs to be of use to other people so that they can be of use to him. This will allow him to gain friends in a way that Vaas couldn't in Arkham City. He might actually willingly go out of his way to get some of these stronger people within the city to be on his side, like Killer Croc, like Bane, if he's willing to negotiate them and can convince them to join his side for whatever reason. Tommy will eventually start legitimately becoming a real threat towards Joker and Penguin. And it's not for the reasons that you would think it is. It's not for his ability to kill people. And that's one of the things that makes Tommy such an interesting main character. He's set up as this dumb, loyal dog who just kills people and that's all he's good for. But when he ends up getting a piece of that power, you end up finding out that he's a lot more clever than he otherwise lets on. Or that he's even really aware of himself. So then the question becomes, does he survive? Or more importantly, does he actually take over Arkham City? No, I don't think he does. And the main reason for that is Tommy Vercetti likes to do shit with his own hands. He is a working man. He likes to go and get things done himself, which is usually a good thing. However, the reason why Joker and Penguin are still alive is because they live in a city where they're not that powerful and they get other people to do things for them. Tommy is a hands-on guy. While I do believe Tommy will go out of his way to form alliances with more powerful people to help him in his conquest of the city, he's not just going to become a completely different character where he just sits up in his mansion giving orders all the time. He just doesn't do that. And while he could take out dozens upon dozens of armed thugs by himself, the fact of the matter is he's still just a dude. And there are several people within Arkham City that can kill him without even really trying all that hard. With him constantly putting himself in danger in a way that Joker and Penguin and a lot of these other crime bosses aren't doing, the odds that he's the first one to be taken out is significantly higher than it is for them. And while Tommy is a lot smarter than he seems, he's still not as smart as the Joker. The Joker has been known to outsmart Batman and using serious psychological warfare as well as terrorist tactics to take out his enemies. While Tommy, by comparison, is a blunt physical instrument that uses his bluntness in a very clever way, he just doesn't compare to the intelligence level of somebody like the Joker. And once again, if Batman shows up, he's getting completely fucking trounced. He doesn't have the hand-to-hand fighting skill that Batman does. He's basically just a brawler. He has no defense against any of the stealth tactics or gadgets that Batman can utilize against him. And all he really has is guns and to shoot him. And that's not anything Batman hasn't dealt with before. So I think Tommy Vercetti will definitely shake things up and he'll cause issues for everyone involved. He might even at some point become one of the bigger threats within the city. But it's really just a matter of time before he gets taken out. And this is mostly due to his sort of old school way of thinking. He's not a mob boss in the traditional sense. If he has a problem with someone, he grabs a baseball bat, he goes over there and he deals with it. He doesn't send a bunch of thugs. He doesn't come up with these large-scale Machiavellian plans. He just deals with the issues at hand. And that's going to make it very easy for characters to predict what he's going to do and how to come up with plots in order to overcome him pretty easily. Next up, we got Babyface from Midnight Fight Express. A fun little game where you got to fight your way through all sorts of foulness, from gang members and SWAT teams to fucking cultists and robots. All kinds of crazy shit. So Babyface used to be a major figure in the criminal underworld before he got into a serious accident and lost all of his memory. He then finds out from a little drone named Droney that there's this evil plot that's going to overtake the entire city as this guy named Boss is trying to plunge everything into total darkness and chaos and anarchy and all that crazy shit. So Babyface, on a quest to find out who he is and what's going on, takes the pure power of his fists and goes on a fighting rampage across the city, stopping everything that gets in his way to find the truth of who he is and stop this evil plot from unhatching. And I'm just gonna be honest with you, he's dominating all of Arkham City pretty fucking easily. Babyface is one of the greatest physical fighters in gaming fiction, period. He fights thousands of people with nothing more than just his basic hand-to-hand fighting skills. Babyface doesn't have any superpowers. He can't dodge bullets. He can't punch through concrete walls. He's just a regular hand-to-hand fighter who beats the living shit out of everybody he comes across. The only thing about him that's arguably superhuman is his superhuman stamina, as he fights literally thousands of people over the course of a single night without rest or even really getting kind of winded. The real strength of his character here is just his sheer combat skill on top of his vicious brutality. He is very much not a Batman-like character. He's a little bit more on the Punisher side of things. He has no issues with snapping people's necks, breaking arms, shooting people in the face, blowing people up. He just doesn't give a fuck. Murder is not an issue for him. And while at the beginning of Midnight Fight Express, he doesn't really care that much about what's happening, he's just trying to find out who he is, by the end of the game, he does actually start to care about what's going on and trying to stop this evil plot from happening. The purpose in the game is to stop the chaos that is unleashed upon the city to save innocent people. If he's thrown into the exact same situation in a totally new city, there's no reason to think he wouldn't do the exact same shit. Arkham City is essentially the same fucking place he just came from, with a bunch of crime lords and ninjas and immortals and all kinds of crazy shit just causing chaos. What Babyface is gonna do here is clear. He's fucking up everybody. Like a fucking freight train from hell, he is running through this whole city, fucking up every single person he finds, brutally murdering them in a beeline to his chosen goal of essentially peace in all of Arkham City. And for the most part, he'll be able to do it. There's nobody here who is skilled enough to actually put him down. Even the characters who are physically stronger than him, like Bane and Killer Croc, probably won't be able to put their hands on him. Babyface is a guy who could drop into a room with a 20-man armed SWAT team and just take them all out without any of them be able to hit him with a single bullet. And it's not because he's so unbelievably fast that he can outpace the bullets. He's just that skilled, and he's faster than the guys pulling the trigger. For obvious reasons, this makes him a serious threat to pretty much the entire underworld within Arkham City. He's not going to be taking out dozens of people. He's going to be taking out hundreds and if not thousands of people. It will not take long for them to start noticing that he's doing this shit. He's going to eventually become everybody's top priority. And there's only going to be a handful of people in all of Arkham City that are even capable of stopping him. While he easily outclasses anyone in hand-to-hand fighting, that includes the top tiers, even a lot of the characters with physical superiority, like Bane, I don't think are really going to be able to put a hand on him. It's pretty obvious that Bane is a drugged up super soldier, and it's not going to be that difficult for Baby to figure out that all the green fucking tubes sticking in him is probably the thing that's giving him all the strength. He's more than skilled enough to maneuver properly and pull that shit out, weakening Bane, and then beating the ever-loving shit out of him. And while he's not superhuman, he does end up fighting robots later on in the game, and is capable of damaging them with his fists. So at the bare minimum, with enough hits, he can harm metal, meaning he'll probably harm pretty much anyone here too, given enough time to really beat them down, especially consider that Batman does pretty much the same thing. Batman under normal circumstances can't hurt somebody like Grundy or Killer Croc or Bane, but if he meets the proper prerequisites, whatever that is, he can beat on their face a little bit. Babyface should be able to do pretty much the same thing. The main difference here and the main weakness that Babyface is going to have is that unlike Batman, he's not really a think outside of the box kind of fighter. He's really just a physical, straight up fist fighter. While the answer to defeating Bane might be pretty obvious, it might not be so obvious when fighting somebody like Killer Croc, and Killer Croc is a lot physically stronger than Babyface. If he ends up coming face to face with him, that is going to be a very, very difficult fight, and one that he will likely not survive. However, there is a very high chance he's not going to run into Killer Croc since he lives in the fucking sewers under the city. It would be a very specific situation that Babyface would even have to go down there. The only way I could possibly see that being the case is if he goes down there for the sole purpose of fighting against the League of Assassins, which are a secret organization that he doesn't really have any way of figuring out how they're even down there. So I don't really see that happening. With all that being said, the plotline that Babyface is going to go through here is basically just the Red Hood story again. Red Hood goes across the city dealing with crime in the way that he wants to. Batman doesn't agree. They get into a big fight and he ends up having issues with Batman. That's exactly what's going to happen with Babyface. Babyface is going to go on a massive murder spree, killing as many bad guys as he possibly can, which admittedly is not the way Red Hood was doing it, but you know, same destination, different journey. And Batman's going to have a serious problem with this. They're going to come to blows, and it's going to be who's going to win between Batman or Babyface, because Batman's not just going to let him slaughter through everybody, which he will absolutely be able to do. So the question then becomes, who wins in a fight between Batman and Babyface? In a straight up fisticuffs fight, Babyface should take it. Yeah, I know, I bet you guys didn't think I was going to say that shit in this video. Look, just this version of Batman versus Babyface from this game, he loses. Babyface fights for longer, he fights way more people, he arguably fights more skilled fighters, and he takes on whole rooms of trained military operatives all having automatic weapons and just beats them all with his fucking fists. Batman also takes on whole rooms of armed men, but he usually uses stealth and tech and things like that. The games make it very clear that Batman is not capable of dodging bullets, and anytime he deals with people who have guns, he needs to come up with other ways of taking them out. Ergo, technology or stealth. His armor is strong and could take a couple of shots here and there, but he can't just fight a whole room of armed guards. It's just something he can't do in this series. Babyface can. So in a straight up fist fight, I think Babyface is absolutely absolutely taking it. Here's the issue. Batman is not going to fight Babyface in a straight up fist fight because Batman never fights anyone in their home field. He always makes them fight his way. And as soon as he realizes that Babyface is going to fuck him up, he's throwing down a smoke pellet, he's hiding somewhere, and he's coming at it in a different way. And while Babyface is an insanely skilled hand-to-hand fighter, that's all he is. That's the only skill we know he knows. That and marksmanship. He can shoot guns pretty well. But he has no answer for any of Batman's tech or stealth options. He has absolutely no way of finding Batman once he loses track of him, which will be very easy for Batman to do. And then at that point, he's basically just at Batman's mercy. So I think initially Babyface is going to do very well. He's going to go through the entirety of the Arkham City underworld, just slaughtering as many people as he possibly can until he runs into a very big heavy hitter like Killer Croc. But in the end, the main way I think he's probably going to be taken down is Batman's going to have to deal with this shit himself. And once Batman makes Babyface his personal fucking problem, not only is it going to be very easy for him to track him down and find him, because Babyface isn't very good at hiding. He just literally bulldozes forward to kill as many people as humanly possible. But once Batman actually does find him, there's really not a whole lot Babyface can do other than just beat him in a fist fight. Batman just has so many more options than Babyface has to deal with him. He's just going to be one of the many other criminals thrown in Arkham Asylum. Alright, last character we have for today is Sweet Tooth from Twisted Metal, and I can't really go over his story at all because they keep fucking changing it. He doesn't really have a canon story. He has a lot in common with the Joker, actually. On one hand, I'm pretty sure he was probably inspired by the Joker, at least a little bit, but also every single game they keep giving him a new backstory. Much like how Joker himself is often not given a canon backstory. Really, the only things that stay consistent with Sweet Tooth is he is a vicious, sadistic serial killer. He looks like a fucking clown. His name is Marcus Needles Kane, and he drives a big-ass ice cream truck. That's it, really. It's really just all over the place. But Sweet Tooth is pretty much, for the most part, always Sweet Tooth. He is a fucking monster that is absolutely obsessed with death, murder, violence, and mayhem. That's it. That's his whole thing. There honestly isn't that much more to say about him. If he meets you, he will try to kill you. He is just a constant force of death and murder. He has more in common with someone like Michael Myers than he does like the Joker or any of the other criminals I've went over on this list. You cannot be in the same room as Needles Kane and survive. That's how obsessed with murder and death he is. And as far as how well he's gonna do in the Arkham universe, pretty fucking well, because he's not really gonna care about anything that's going on. Sweet Tooth is not gonna care about the Joker Penguin war. He doesn't want power. He's not trying to build up any sort of lucrative business or anything like that. He's not that kind of criminal. He's just straight up a serial killer. And as far as that goes, he'll ride in his little ice cream truck, going all around Arkham City and just constantly butchering people. He has no reason to interact with anybody else outside of the people that he goes to murder. And he has no reason to go out of his way to try and kill somebody like Joker or Penguin, unless he just stumbles upon them, which is very unlikely. He's gonna be more like a Victor Zsasz or a Riddler. Someone who's not directly involved with the other villains, but are just kind of off doing their own thing, and the other villains just don't care about them all that much. That's basically what I could see Sweet Tooth doing. Now, I do think that Sweet Tooth is a far more active murderer than pretty much any other serial killer that exists within Arkham City. Like, Zsasz kills people occasionally. In the entire course of the Arkham series, he tries to kill like a couple of people. Sweet Tooth, by comparison, is gonna leave fucking bodies. I mean, lots and lots of bodies. Just to give you an example of how ballsy his murdering is, one day he just like walked into a hospital and killed every single person inside that hospital with a machete. He killed the doctors, the patients, the guards, the cops, everybody. Dozens upon dozens upon dozens of people over the course of like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, however long he was in the hospital for. And this is the kind of serial killing he does. He's less like a serial killer and more like a mass murdering force of death. So perhaps you could say it's possible that if he does do that level of death for long enough, he's gonna piss off one of the other groups. Perhaps Penguin might have an issue, you know? Maybe Sweet Tooth will wander into one of his buildings and slaughter a shit ton of his people. Who knows? It's possible. I still don't think it's gonna be that big of a deal since none of these people seem to give a shit about any of their underlings anyway. Much like Babyface, what I think is far more likely to happen is Sweet Tooth is gonna be tracked down and captured by Batman. But it's not gonna be as simple as all that. While physically Sweet Tooth is just a very strong strong, regular guy and really shouldn't stand a chance against Batman or any of the top tiers. Even someone like Joker might be able to beat him in a fist fight, since Joker in the Arkham universe is actually a trained fighter. Like, I think Sweet Tooth's most impressive feat physically is taking on 3 cops at the same time in hand-to-hand combat and killing all of them. And while, yes, that is impressive, it doesn't touch anything like Batman taking on 40 dudes at a time. They're just 2 completely different levels of physical prowess. The thing Sweet Tooth has that will fuck up the whole goddamn city is his truck. Sweet Tooth's ice cream truck is the most powerful thing that exists in Arkham City. Hands down, I'm not even really sure anything else comes close. This truck is suited up with machine guns, missile launchers, all manner of explosives, and all sorts of other types of weapons. At one point, he blew up the Statue of Liberty with it. This is a powerful fucking vehicle that even the Batmobile is gonna have serious trouble fighting against. And that's in its basic bitch ice cream truck form. That doesn't include its fucking robot mech form that's like the size of a fucking building and just marches around launching rockets like machine guns all over the place, destroying whole city blocks. This is a thing that's going to cause serious problems. When Sweet Tooth is in this truck in this form, he goes from being like a regular serial killer with a machete to essentially the most powerful person in the city. Now, while he's not gonna be in the truck all the time, most of his murders he does with his bare hands and with his machete. But if he needs the truck, he does have the truck. So what do I think is really gonna happen? I think he's gonna get to Arkham City. I think he's gonna fucking love it. The chaos, the violence, the murder. He's gonna go nuts. He's gonna slaughter a whole lot of people. Maybe he'll get the attention of some other criminals, maybe not. It could go either way, but chances are probably not. I don't think they're gonna care all that much that he's out serial killing people. And it's essentially gonna be like a side quest that Batman has to solve these murders and find the person who's killing all these people, which again won't be particularly hard because he's a big ass fucking clown with a flaming head and an ice cream truck that's butchering people by these several dozens. However, once Batman finds him, he is going to be shocked as shit to find out that this ice cream truck turns into a fucking mech. And then you're gonna have a really fucking cool boss fight where Batman has to get in the Batmobile and fight against this other truck, and it's basically Twisted Metal, but with the goddamn Batmobile. That's gonna be fucking cool. However, the Batmobile ain't anywhere near as strong as Sweet Tooth's ice cream truck. So, do I think Sweet Tooth is gonna kill Batman? It's possible, but I think it's unlikely. While in a straight up car fight, Batman's fucking losing, I don't think that Batman's just gonna do a straight up car fight. Kind of the same as Babyface, where I don't think he's just gonna fight straight up. Batman does not go out of his way to get into fights that he's going to lose. He takes the proper precautions, and while he has no way of knowing that his van's gonna turn into a fucking mech, he can back off a bit and figure out a new plan of attack and then come back. Batman's not stupid. He has no problem with backing off and regrouping and figuring out something new. He's not gonna fucking go getting himself killed. There's a lot of different stuff he can do to disable the truck. There's EMP blasts, there's all kinds of airstrikes and stuff he can do with the Batwing. He has a lot of options here. Worst case scenario, he can even climb on the top of the fucking truck, get inside, and deal with Sweet Tooth from the inside. I wouldn't say that's necessarily the safest option, but he can do it. So I'd say while it's possible that Sweet Tooth can absolutely kill Batman, specifically this version of Batman, if he surprises him with a fucking mech that he wasn't expecting, I'd give it like a 70-30 that Batman is probably more likely to come up with a plan to beat him than the other way around. Batman has a lot of experience with dealing with overpowered bullshit that he can't normally deal with. So basically the way I see it is that you have 3 options. Either 1, Batman takes out Sweet Tooth before he actually gets into his truck and he doesn't even have to worry about this. And then later when he looks at the truck, he's like, oh fuck, this dude had a goddamn mech? I didn't know that. That's definitely possible, but also like the most boring option there is. Why would you want to choose that? Second option, Batman gets into a long drawn out Batmobile versus Sweet Truck van car fight where they're blasting rockets and machine guns and all kinds of crazy shit. That's the fucking coolest one. That's the one everybody wants. And as far as that goes, it will probably be one of the hardest fights Batman has ever had in a car. Mainly because I think he's going to be surprised with just how many things that fucking car can take. Like I mentioned that he can do an EMP blast, which he can. But EMPs only work on Twisted Metal vehicles for a couple of seconds before they reboot and then they're back to normal. normal. So while Batman can do that, it's not going to be the problem solver that he thinks it is. And if they're just fighting normally in a car versus car fight, Sweet Tooth has the massive advantage and he's gonna fucking kill him. That's not the most likely thing that'll happen though. The most likely thing is that Batman is going to slowly learn how his car works as they are driving around doing this fighting shit, with Batman trying to stay away and just figure out the technology. And then he's gonna talk to Alfred the whole time and find out some sort of plot of how he can get around the defenses, and then come up with a plan of how he's going to systematically take out the truck so that he can get inside of it to get to Sweet Tooth. And by doing that, he will absolutely dominate Sweet Tooth. I mean, I don't know why you'd be surprised. It's fucking Batman. I'm not saying that no criminal would be able to take on Batman. Like I said, in a fist fight, I think Babyface would. But you're gonna need more than just a big ass fucking mech. Batman is a billionaire and a technological genius. The idea that him, Oracle, Albert, and all these other people can't come up with something to take out a fucking mech, a basic bitch mech, I just don't buy that. I mean, fuck, Batman has a disruptor in his pocket. He presses a button and he can deactivate someone's gun. How the fuck do you even do that? A gun is not a piece of electronics. How do you disrupt the firing mechanism of a gun electronically if it's not electronic? That don't even make any fucking sense. You wanna know why? Cause he's fucking Batman. He just does shit. It don't have to make sense. But on a more serious note, I do think that he'll have to work with Oracle, with Alfred, over the radio, trying to find the weaknesses, scanning Sweet Tooth's mech, trying to find structural weaknesses and things like that, and come up with a proper plan. And with all of that and a lot of work, he will eventually take down Sweet Tooth and his mech. And like everybody else, Sweet Tooth will go to jail and be just another crazed serial killer in Arkham Asylum. Now, one thing I didn't really talk about, but I do think would be kind of interesting, is the possibility that Joker might actually get jealous that there's another murderous clown in Arkham City and might actually go out of his way to hunt down Sweet Tooth simply because he doesn't like the idea that there is another crazed clown. That sounds like something Joker would do. He's just egotistical enough to do something like that. If that is the case, that will change things a little bit. But really the only things that'll change is that Sweet Tooth will come at Joker with the mech instead of Batman. And if that's the case, no, I don't think Joker can stop him at all. Joker in the actual game just stays in his hideout and beefs up security, and Batman has to like sneak in and find him. Sweet Tooth can just blow up the whole fucking facility. He doesn't have to enter it at all. Joker's fucking done. This event would then set off a chain reaction of Penguin winning the war and a bunch of different people coming out of the woodwork now that Joker's gone and they're needing to be in some massive power vacuum. It's gonna be like a whole thing. But even in that scenario, Batman's coming for Sweet Tooth and he's gonna take Sweet Tooth out. That's still going to be the inevitable ending for his character. But that's gonna be all from me. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and join the membership, because if you join the membership, you get videos early. And always remember, y'all stay safe out there, you hear?